Okay. All right, brothers and sisters, greetings. How y'all doing? Hope y'all having a good week. I hope y'all had a good week. I know the weekend is coming. Tomorrow is Friday. Do y'all know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is the beginning of the Sabbath when the sun goes down. So I will be saying an early Sabbath day to all of the Sabbath keepers. If you don't keep the Sabbath, I can't tell you happy Sabbath. Anyway, greetings. My name is Brother Moses. I'm coming to you from Israel, the Lord's vineyard. I'm going to give you a little small talk tonight about Jesus' death and resurrection and how many days he was in the grave. You know, the whole world got it as Jesus was in the grave from Friday night to Sunday morning early. But yet, Jesus himself said he was going to be in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. So if he said he's going to be in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights, how in the world can you say, or the people say, that he died Friday and rose Sunday? Since, brothers and sisters, you cannot get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday to Sunday, that would be almost impossible. You know, even if you add, subtract, multiply, or divide, you cannot get it. You simply cannot get it. So why the mass of the world hangs on Jesus died Friday? As a matter of fact, that's where they got Good Friday from. The whole world celebrates Good Friday because they say that's when he died. And then they came up with Easter because they said that's when he rose, even though Easter have nothing to do with Christ. What does Christ have to do with the bunny rabbits and eggs? And the mass of the world have no clue that this have nothing to do with Christ. Yet they continue to celebrate it. Mm, mm, mm. So we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, his death and his resurrection, as far as how many days he said he was going to be in the grave, and we're going to do a little PowerPoint and see if we can come to a conclusion. All right, my brothers and sisters. So, first we have to open up with the law. We usually open with the law. So the law, we're going to open from the book of Exodus chapter 20. And we're going to start at verse 1 and we're going to end at verse 17. So it says, "And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image." Hold on. "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generations of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold thee guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, brothers and sisters, to keep it holy. Let me read that again. Remember the Sabbath day, brothers and sisters, to keep it holy. Not Sunday, Saturday, the Sabbath day. It says, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy sons, nor thy daughters, thy manservant, thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them is, and he rested the seventh day. Wherefore, brothers and sisters, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. He did not bless Sunday, brothers and sisters. He blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the face of the earth, that the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbors. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes, and we're going to continue. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. I encourage you, brothers and sisters, to get your Bible, get a book, get pencils, and you can jot down these scriptures. And in the meantime, let me share. I'm going to continue reading, but I'm going to share. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. Okay, brothers and sisters, this is the Zoom information, the platform information. We congregate. You can take a snapshot of it. You can take a picture of it. We congregate on Friday evening and Saturday evening. So you can take a snapshot of that. And share, brothers and sisters. Share. Like and share. Thank you. So we're in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. And we're going to read verse 9 and verse 10, and we're going to read verse 13 and 14. It says, And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heeds, and sought out and set in order many proverbs. For the preacher sought out to find out many acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even the words of truth. Let us hear the whole conclusion, brothers and sisters, of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Let me read that again. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter, brothers and sisters. Fear God and keep his commandment, not throw them away. For this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So right there, brothers and sisters, is talking about the end time judgment day. But what did he tell you? To fear God and keep his commandment. Yet pastors, teachers, leaders, whatever they want to call themselves, is out there telling people, you don't have to keep those laws. Brothers and sisters, take heed. We go into the book of Revelation, and we're going to continue. Revelation 22, the very last chapter in the Bible. And we're going to see that it's still telling us to keep those commandments. Listen what it says, verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they might have rights to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and make it a lie. So, brothers and sisters, these are the commandments. I'm in the book of Revelation, the last chapter, the 14th and 15th verse, and God is still telling you to keep his commandments. So how say many of these pastors out there, and then the people who is following them is saying that we don't have to keep the commandments because we can't keep them? Brothers and sisters, I am here to tell you, the commandments is for us to keep until the return of our Messiah. This is our wisdom in the sight of man. If you get rid of your wisdom, that what good are you if you get rid of your wisdom? The commandments is our wisdom in the sight of man. If we get rid of our wisdom, then what good are we? Anyone that is telling you that you don't have to keep the commandments, they are trying to rob your salvation, brothers and sisters. Don't let them take your crown. I adjure you. That being said, again, my name is Brother Moses. I'm coming to you from Israel, the Lord's vineyard. We teach the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, Jesus Christ being the chief cornerstone. We keep the laws. We keep the dietary law. We keep the feast days. We keep the circumcisions. We keep the laws, brothers and sisters. The only law that we don't keep is the law of animal sacrifice. But other than that, we do keep the laws. So with that being said, we're going to start out in the book of John. John chapter 2. And we're going to do some reading. All right? John chapter 2. We're going to do some reading. So, we're going to say John chapter 2, verse 13 to verse 25. Brothers and sisters, I encourage you to write down these scriptures. Don't believe me. Believe the book. I don't have no kingdom to put you in, nor a lake of fire to throw you in. Believe the book. So John chapter 2, we're going to read verse 13 to verse 25. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. And he found in the temple those who sold oxen and sheep and doves, and the changers of money sitting. And when he had made a scourge of a small cord, he drove them out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money out and overthrew the tables, and said unto them that sold doves, Take these things hence, make not my Father's house a house of merchandise. And his disciples remember that it was written, The zeal of thy house has eaten me up. Then answered the Jews and said unto him, What sign showest thou unto us, seeing that thou doest these things? So Jesus answered and said unto them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. So, brothers and sisters, this is a clue. Remember what we are trying to establish, that Jesus was in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. So this is a clue. It said, destroy this temple and I will raise it up in 3 days. Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? So there we go again, brothers and sisters. 3 days. Remember that. You cannot get 3 days from Friday to Sunday. It's impossible. Verse 21. But he spake in the temple of his body. So he's talking about his body. They thought that he was saying that he was going to break down the temple, the synagogue. But he was talking about him being dead in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. Right? Verse 22. When therefore he was risen from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this unto them. And they believed the scriptures and the words which Jesus said. Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover, in the feast day, many believed in his name, when they saw the miracles which he did. But Jesus did not commit himself unto them, because he knew all men, and needed not that any should testify of him, for he knew what was in man. So we're going to continue, brothers and sisters, and we're going to go to the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 16, and we're going to read 41 to 66. Matthew chapter 16. And we're going to read verse 41 to verse 60. What am I saying? Matthew chapter 4:16. Okay, let me skip that. Let's go to Mark 15. My bad. Mark 15. Mark chapter 15. Mark chapter 15. And we're going to read verse 16 to 29. Mark chapter 15. We're going to read 16 to 29. And it reads, And so Pilate, willing to contend with the people, released Barabbas unto them, and delivering Jesus, when he had scourged him, to be crucified. And the soldier led him away in the hall, called Praetorium. And they called together the whole band, and they clothed him with purple, and platted a crown of thorns, and put it on his head, and began to salute him, Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him on the head with the reed, and did spit on him. Wow, that is crazy. And bowing their knees, worship him. And when they had mocked him, they took off the purple from him, and put his own clothes on him, and led him out to be crucified. And they compel one Simon, a Cyrenian, who passed by, coming out of the country, the father of Alexander and Rufus, to bear his cross. And they bring him unto the place of Golgotha, which is being interpreted, the place of the skull. And they gave him to drink wine mingled with myrrh, but he received it not. And when they had crucified him, they parted his garment, casting lots upon them, and every man should take. And it was the 3rd hour when they had crucified him. And the superscription of accusation was written over the king of the Jews. And with him they crucified two thieves, one on the right and the other on the left. And the scripture was fulfilled, which said, and he was numbered amongst the transgressors, or he was numbered with the transgressors. And they that passed by railed on him, wagging their heads and saying, Ah, thou dost destroy the temple and build it in 3 days. So even them, brothers and sisters, they knew what Christ said, that he was going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days. But remember, he was not talking about that physical building. He was talking about his body. Right? So they railed at him and said, oh, look at you. You said that you're going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days. Save thyself and come down from the cross. So listen to these guys. Save yourself and come down from the cross. Let's go and verify this again. Let's go to Matthew. Go back to Matthew chapter 12 and we're going to read 36 to 41. Matthew chapter 12. And we're going to see what Jesus said about Jonah. Matthew chapter 12 and we're going to read 36 to 41. Matthew chapter 12, we're going to read 36 to 41. And it reads, But I say unto you, that every idle words that men shall speak, they shall give an account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Then certain of the scribes and the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from thee. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after sign, and there shall be no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonah. So brothers and sisters, remember, he gave us a clue of how many days and nights he will be in that grave. He gave us another clue. He said, I'm going to give you one sign, and that sign is the prophet Jonah. Let's continue. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be in the 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. And the men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonah, and behold, a greater than Jonah is here. So now, if he gave a clue and tell us that he's going to give you the sign just like Jonah, then what do we have to do, brothers and sisters? We have to go back to Jonah and see what happened to Jonah. That makes a lot of sense. So what we're going to do, let us go back to Jonah and see what happened to Jonah. Let us go back to Jonah and see what happened to him. So we're going to go to Jonah chapter 1. Jonah chapter 1. If I can get to it. Now we're going to read verse 1 to verse 17. Jonah chapter 1, and we're going to read verse 1 to verse 17. Because Jesus referred us to Jonah. So we have to go back to Jonah and see what happened to Jonah. And it reads, Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me. But Jonah rose up and flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa, and he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and he went down into it to go. See, so Jesus sent Jonah to Nineveh, and Jonah was going the other direction. So he jumped on a ship, one of them ships that was going to Tarshish. He paid his fare, and he was going towards Tarshish. But the Lord sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was like to be broken. Then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God, and cast forth the wares. Then the mariners, verse 5 again, then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God, and cast forth the wares that were in the ships into the sea, to lighten it. But Jonah was gone down into the side of the ship, and he laid and was fast asleep. So the shipmaster came to him and said unto him, What meanest thou, O sleeper? Arise, call upon thy God, if so to be that the God upon us, that we not perish. So this shipmaster, he went to Jonah like, what are you doing? You see what is going on? Man, call upon your God to find out what is going on. And they said, every one to his fellow, Come, and let us cast lots, that we may know for whose cause this evil is come upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell upon Jonah. Then said they unto him, Tell us, we pray thee, for whose cause this evil is come upon us? And what is thy occupation? And whence comest thou? Where you coming from? What is thy country? And what people art thou? And he said unto them, I am an Hebrew. I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, which made the sea and dry land. So if he feared the Lord of heaven, why is he going the opposite direction that the Lord tell him to go? Verse 10. Then were the men exceedingly afraid, and said unto him, Why hast thou done this? For the man knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then said they unto him, What shall we do unto thee, that the sea may be calm unto us? For the sea wrath and was tempestuous. And he said unto them, Take me up and cast me forth into the sea, so shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake this great tempest is upon you. Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to bring it to the land, but they could not. For the sea wrath and was tempestuous against them. Wherefore they cried unto the Lord and said, We beseech thee, O Lord, we beseech thee, let us not perish for this man's life. And lay not upon us innocent blood, for thou, O Lord, hast done as it pleased thee. So they took up Jonah and cast him forth into the sea. And the sea was ceased from the raging. Then the man feared exceedingly, and offered a sacrifice unto the Lord, and made vows. Now the Lord prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Brothers and sisters, it said Jonah was in the whale's belly for 3 days and 3 nights, not Friday to Sunday. 3 days and 3 nights. Let us continue. Let's go to Luke 24. Luke 24. And we're going to read verse 7 to verse 27. Luke 24, and we're going to read verse 7 to verse 27. And it reads, saying, the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful man, and be crucified, and the 3rd day rise again. And he remembered his words, and returned from the sepulchre, and told all these things unto the 11, and to all the rest. It was Mary Magdalene, and Joanna, and Mary the mother of James, and the other woman who were with them, which told these things unto the apostles. And their word seems to be to them as idle tales, and they believe them not. So when the ladies came and told the apostles about Jesus raising and not being there, they didn't believe. They didn't believe. So Jesus had told them, go and tell my apostles, I will be unto them soon. But when they went and told them, they did not believe. Verse 12. Then arose Peter and ran unto the sepulchre, and stooping down, he beheld the linen cloths laid by themselves, and departed wondering in himself at that which has come to pass. And behold, 2 of them went that same day to the village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 60 furlongs. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. And it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. So listen what's going to happen, brothers and sisters. They don't even realize that this was Jesus walking beside them. They're not looking for him because he's dead. He's supposed to be dead. So listen what it says. Verse 16. And their eyes was beholding that they should not know him. And he said unto them, what manner of communications are these that you have one to another, as you walk and are sad? And the one of them, whose name was Cleophas, answering said unto him, art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, and hast not known the things which are come to pass in these days? And he said unto them, what things? And they said unto him, concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty in deeds and words before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death, and have crucified him. but he was trusted that it had been he which would have been redeem Israel, and said, all this, today is the third day since these things were done. So we're still seeing these 3 days, brothers and sisters. We're still seeing these 3 days. Yea, and certain woman also, of whose company made astonish, which were early at the sepulchre. And when they found not his body, they came saying that they had also seen a vision of angels, which said that he was alive. And certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre, and found it even so as the woman had said. But him they saw not. Then he said unto them, O fools, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. So Jesus said, call them, O fools, slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Are not Christ to have suffered these things, and to have entered into his glory? And beginning at Moses and all of the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. So when Jesus came, brothers and sisters, he came to fulfill that which was only spoken of him to be fulfilled. So we're going to get to something now. Remember when the veil in the temple ripped from top to bottom, something happened, brothers and sisters. We want to find out what happened. So first, let's go to Leviticus chapter 4, and we're going to see what was the purpose of that veil in the temple. What was the purpose? So we're going to go to Leviticus chapter 4. We're going to read 1 to 6, 13 to 17, and 20. Leviticus chapter 4. We're going to read 1 to 6, 13 to 17, and verse 20. So it reads, And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done, and shall do against any of them, if the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sins of the people, then let him bring for his sins which he has sinned a young bullock without blemish unto the Lord for a sin offering. And he shall bring the bullock unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord, and shall lay his hand upon the bullock's head, and kill the bullock before the Lord. Listen, brothers and sisters. And the priest that is anointed shall take the bullock's blood, and bring it to the tabernacle of the congregation, and the priest shall dip his finger in the blood, and sprinkle the blood 7 times before the Lord, before the veil of the sanctuary. So what was the purpose of that veil, brothers and sisters? That veil was to cover the Holy of Holies, and it was also for their animal sacrifice, brothers and sisters. They used that veil to sprinkle the blood on it for the sins. That was the purpose of the veil. So let's skip to verse 13. Verse 13 says, And if the whole congregation of Israel sin through ignorance, and the things be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which are not to be done, and are guilty, when the sin which they have sinned against it is known, then the congregation shall offer a young bullock for the sin, and bring him before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands upon the head of the bullock before the Lord, and the bullock shall be killed before the Lord. And the priest that is anointed shall bring the bullock's blood of the tabernacle and of the congregation, and the priest shall dip his finger in some of the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord, even before the veil. So remember, brothers and sisters, the purpose of the veil was to sprinkle the animal sacrifice for sin, the atonement. That was the purpose of the veil. Let's read verse 20. And he shall go with the bullock as he did with the bullock for the sin offering, so shall he do it with this. And the priest shall make an atonement for them, and it shall be forgiven them. So the blood, remember the blood, brothers and sisters, was for the atonement of sin. The blood was for the atonement of sin. So the purpose of the veil was for the priest to sprinkle the blood on it for the atonement from that animal, from the bullock. That was the purpose of the veil. So now we're going to come to one of the conclusion, brothers and sisters. We are going to go to the book of Daniel, and we are going to see when indeed did Jesus died. We're going to go to the book of Daniel, and we're going to see when did Jesus die. Because it's inside of the book. We just have to read it, brothers and sisters. We're going to go to Daniel chapter 9, and we're going to read verse 25 to verse 27. Daniel chapter 9, and we're going to read verse 25 to verse 27. And it reads, Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandments to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And the street shall be built again, and the walls even in troublous times. So who are we talking about, brothers and sisters? We are talking about Jesus the Messiah. We are talking about Jesus the Messiah. Daniel is referring to Jesus the Messiah. Jesus is the Prince. He is the Messiah. Listen what verse 26 says. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off. He's talking about Jesus, brothers and sisters. After 62 weeks shall the Messiah, which is Jesus, be killed. Listen, remember, when the book is talking, especially in prophetic prophecy, it talks both prophetic and literal, brothers and sisters. Prophecy gives you both literal and prophetic. Okay? Just like one day to the Lord is 1,000 years to man. Remember, prophecy, some prophecies give you literal and prophetic. So now we know we are talking about Jesus, the Messiah, the Prince. Verse 26 says, And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the Prince shall come and destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of war desolation are determined. Verse 27, And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the middle of the week, listen, brothers and sisters, literal, in the middle of the week. What day is the middle of the week, brothers and sisters? We know the middle of the week is Wednesday. Wednesday is the middle of the week. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the middle of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. How did he cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease? The temple that had the veil in it, what happened to the veil? It ripped from top to bottom. When Jesus died on the cross, the veil in the temple was ripped from top to bottom. So what did that do, brothers and sisters? It ended the sacrifice and the oblation. When Christ died on the cross, the veil in the temple ripped from top to bottom. And that ended the animal sacrifice. So he says, and he shall confirm the covenant for many for 1 week, and in the middle of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and the overspreading of the abomination, and he shall make it desolate even till the end, even to the consummation that the determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So Christ died in the middle of the week, brothers and sisters, which is Wednesday. Which is Wednesday. That's when he died. Wednesday. Christ did not die Friday. Remember, Christ died on the Passover. That year, remember, the Passover and the regular Sabbath is two different Sabbaths. Yes, sometimes you can have one of the high days fall on a Sabbath day. But this Sabbath, which was the Passover, and actually the Passover is not a Sabbath. The Feast of Unleavened Bread is the Sabbath, the next day. That's why they had to take the body down off the cross before the Sabbath, which was the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We're going to read it, brothers and sisters. We're going to read it. So let's go and see when he rose from the grave. Let's go to Matthew 28. Matthew 28. So we know he died on a Wednesday in the middle of the week. He died on a Wednesday. Now we're going to see when he rose from the grave. We're going to read Matthew 28, verse 1 to verse 7. Matthew 28, we're going to read verse 1 to verse 7. Hold on. This is a chart that I made to see if we can have a little bit of clarity on it. Okay? So we're going to read Matthew 28. We're going to read verse 1 to verse 7. As a matter of fact, let us go to Leviticus first. Let us go to Leviticus 23. We're going to read verse 1 and 2, and we're going to read verse 4 to verse 8. Leviticus 23. Leviticus 23, we're going to read verse 1 and verse 2, and we're going to read verse 4 to verse 8. And it reads, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, remember, brothers and sisters, Moses did not speak to the Lord. The Lord spoke to Moses. These feasts are not the Jews' feasts. These feasts are the Lord's feasts. They are not the Jews' feasts. They belong to the Lord. All of them, brothers and sisters. So the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel concerning the feast of the Lord. There you go, brothers and sisters. It didn't say concerning the feast of the Jews. It says concerning the feast of the Lord. The Jews have no feasts. These feasts belongs to God. Speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. So these feast days, they are deemed as holy convocation. We're going to skip down to 4 to 8. These are the feasts of the Lord. He's saying it again. Even holy convocations which you shall proclaim in their seasons. So, brothers and sisters, you have to do these feasts when they are appointed to do. You cannot do them anytime you want. It have to be done when God say you're supposed to do it. When is the Passover? Verse 5. In the 15th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover. And on the 16th day, 15th day, the 14th day, verse 5, the 14th day of the first month is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. In the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, because it is a Sabbath. The day after the Passover, brothers and sisters, is a Sabbath, is a high Sabbath. It was not talking about Friday and Saturday. It was talking about the Passover, and the day after the Passover is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is a Sabbath. It was not talking about the regular Saturday Sabbath. Okay, brothers and sisters? So again, verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Lord. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. In the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. In the 7th day it shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. So the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, brothers and sisters, and the last day, they are Sabbaths. Remember, when Jesus died, he did not die on a regular Sabbath, which is the Saturday Sabbath, Friday evening to Saturday. He died on the Passover. And that year, the Passover came on a Wednesday. We read it in Daniel chapter 9. Right? Let's read Matthew's. Let's go to Matthew's. Matthew's 28. Matthew's chapter 28, and we're going to read verse 1 to verse 7. And it reads, in the end of the Sabbath, as it began on towards the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for the fear of him, the keepers did shake and became as dead men. And the angel answered them and said to the woman, fear not, for I know that you seek Jesus, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen. Come and see the place where he lay. When they went there, brothers and sisters, was Jesus there when they went there the first day of the week? No, he was not there. He was not there when they got there. He rose on the eve of the Sabbath, brothers and sisters. Remember, Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath. He is not Lord of Sunday. Satan is Lord of Sunday, brothers and sisters. The Sunday law belongs to Satan. The Sabbath belongs to Christ. Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath. He died Wednesday and he rose on Saturday. He did not raise on Sunday. If he had rose on Sunday, what would have happened? He would have been in the grave for 4 days. Actually, 4 nights. Because remember, evening come first. He would have been in the grave for 4 nights, brothers and sisters. So he could not have rose on Sunday if he died Wednesday. So remember, when they came to the sepulchre, Christ was not there because he rose on the Sabbath. All right, let's go to Genesis and we're going to see how the order is set up. Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to read verse 1 to verse 5. Genesis chapter 1, we're going to read verse 1 to verse 5. And it reads, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw that the light, it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning was the first day. So remember, brothers and sisters, the evening comes first. The day starts at evening, the day before. So it comes the evening, the dawn, sunrise, which is the day. You understand? So evening, dawn, sunrise. Remember that evening comes first. The day starts in the evening. That's why when we keep the Sabbath, we do it from Friday evening to Saturday evening. The Sabbath starts the evening of Friday. It starts in the evening, brothers and sisters. All right? Let's go to Matthew 28 and Matthew 12, and we're going to read one verse, verse 8. Matthew 12, and we're going to read one verse, verse 8. Matthew 12 and 8. Matthew 12 and 8, and it reads, for the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. Christ is not Lord of Sunday. The Sunday law is Satan's law. Christ is the Lord of the Sabbath. He rose on his Sabbath. Brothers and sisters, he did not raise on Sunday. Right? So here, look at the PowerPoint. On the screen, hope y'all can see it. Jesus died on Wednesday, right? Remember, the Sabbath was the Thursday. Thursday was the Sabbath. That was the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Wednesday when he died, that was the Passover. Remember, that's the 14th day. The 15th day, which was the next day, which was the Thursday, that was the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Passover is not a Sabbath. It's a high day, but it's not a Sabbath day. The Feast of Unleavened Bread is the Sabbath. So that's why they said they have to get the body down off the cross before the Sabbath. That was the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Then he was on there Thursday day. That's the second day. You see it? Friday day, that was the third day, brothers and sisters. Yeah, look, Thursday evening, that was the first night. Friday evening, the second night. And Saturday evening, that was the third night. And he rose the eve of the Sabbath before Sunday came in. Remember, when the sun goes down, it starts the next day. So he rose before the sun went down. But the people, that Mary Magdalene, did not come until the first day. Why? Because remember, they were keeping the Sabbath. They were keeping the Sabbath. So he had 2 Sabbaths in that same week. The Thursday was a Sabbath, and the Saturday was a Sabbath, brothers and sisters. The Thursday was the first day of the feast of unleavened, the second day of the feast of unleavened bread. Right? The Thursday was a Sabbath, and the Saturday was a Sabbath. So we had 2 Sabbaths in that same week. So Mary Magdalene, they could not have come to the sepulchre on the Sabbath. That's when Jesus rose. They came there Sunday, early, when the sun was rising. And when they came, Jesus was already rose from the grave. If he was in there until Sunday, he would have been in there 4 nights, brothers and sisters. And remember, he said he was going to be in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights, not 4. So the conclusion, Jesus died on Wednesday, according to the book of Daniel, in the middle of the week. And he rose on the eve of the Sabbath. That's how you get 3 days and 3 nights. If Jesus died on Friday, you could not get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday to Sunday. I don't care how you work out that problem. You can't get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday to Sunday. So Jesus now being what? The first fruit. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 15, and we're going to read 19 to 20 and 23. 1 Corinthians 15, we're going to read 19 and 20 and 23. 1 Corinthians 15, we're going to read 19 and 20 and verse 23. And it reads, if in this life only we have hope in Christ, we are of all men most miserable. But now is Christ risen from the dead and became the first fruit of them that slept. For since by man, let me read that. For since by man came death, by man also came the resurrection of the dead. Verse 23. But every man in his own order, Christ the first fruits, afterwards they that are Christ at his coming. So Christ was the first to rise from the grave and went back into his glory. Because remember, he was in his glory before he came in the flesh. That's why he told his Father, give me back the glory that I had with you before the world was. When he came out the grave, he went back into his glory. That's why Jesus, he appeared in the room. That room door was locked and bolted shut. Remember, they was trying to capture the disciples them to crucify them because they were followers of Jesus. When they killed Jesus, they were all hiding. So when Jesus came into that room was bolted shut. He did not open the door. He appeared in the room. He came through the door, meaning a shut door, brothers and sisters. He came through the door. When Jesus came out the grave, he was in his glory. And if you read in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, it's going to tell you how are the dead raised. When they raise, they're going to raise in glory. So when we are raised from the grave, we are going to be the same thing. We are going to raise in glory. The first resurrection, brothers and sisters, they are going to raise in glory and they're going to be changed. When they come out the grave, they're not going to be flesh and blood. They're going to be celestial beings or spiritual beings. All right? So again, the conclusion, Jesus died on Wednesday, the middle of the week, and he rose on the eve of the Sabbath, just before Sunday, the first day of the week, brothers and sisters. That's where you get 3 days and 3 nights. I thank you for listening, brothers and sisters. The information was up there as far as the platform, how you can get in touch with us. If you have any question, you can leave a comment, and we'll try to get back to you as diligent as possible. Please like and share if this has been an enlightening for you. Please like and share. I thank you very much. My name is Brother Moses. I'm coming to you from Israel, the Lord's vineyard, and I thank you for your time.